Have you ever looked into your dog's eyes and felt, for a fleeting moment, that you weren't just looking at a pet? Have you ever witnessed a behavior so inexplicably attuned to your own unspoken thoughts, so perfectly timed to an unseen event, that the simple explanation of animal instinct felt hollow, almost dismissive? Perhaps it was the moment your dog, who normally sleeps through anything, began to pace and whine minutes before you received a distressing phone call. Or the way your seemingly ordinary companion suddenly pressed their head against a specific spot on your body, a spot you later discovered was harboring a hidden illness. Maybe it was just a look, a deep knowing gaze that seemed to pierce through the veil of your daily pretenses, offering a silent, unconditional comfort just when your spirit was about to break. These moments are not isolated anomalies. They are not mere coincidences or tricks of an over-loving mind. They are whispers of a profound truth, ripples on the surface of a deep and ancient current that is now surging through our world. All across the globe, in homes and cities, in shelters and on battlefields, a silent, powerful transformation is underway. It's an awakening, and it's happening in our most loyal companions. What if these creatures, whom we have welcomed into our homes and hearts, are not just here for companionship? What if they are emissaries, guides, and guardians on a mission far grander than we could ever have imagined? Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the family dog. The story we are about to unravel suggests that these strange and wonderful occurrences are not random. They are the fulfillment of a forgotten prophecy, a roadmap to a new reality that is unfolding right before our very eyes. To understand the magnitude of what is happening today, we must journey back to the first half of the 20th century, to the life of a man known as the sleeping prophet Edgar Cayce. Between 1901 and his passing in 1945, Cayce, a simple man from Kentucky, with no formal medical or historical training, would lie down on a couch, enter a deep, self-induced trance and deliver what came to be known as readings. In this state, he could answer questions on any topic with astonishing detail and accuracy. His documented predictions are the stuff of legend. Long before the event, he foresaw the 1929 stock market crash in the subsequent Great Depression with chilling precision. He predicted the rise and fall of Adolf Hitler, the eventual alliance of democratic nations against him in a Second Great War, and even the future independence of India. Perhaps most eerily, in an era of steam engines and telegrams, Cayce spoke of a future where information would be stored in a hall of records and accessed through talking machines that would connect all of humanity, a vision that startlingly mirrors our modern internet and the concept of cloud computing. His accuracy on matters of health was so profound that thousands sought his clairvoyant diagnoses, which often identified ailments that contemporary medicine had missed. Cayce's credibility as a psychic was, and remains, formidable. But nestled amongst his thousands of readings on world events, health, and ancient civilizations lies a series of pronouncements that were, for decades, largely overlooked. A forgotten prophecy. A prophecy not about humanity's destiny alone, but about the spiritual evolution of our oldest companion, the dog. In his trance state, Cayce declared that dogs were not what they seemed. He described them as disguised masters, ancient souls who had chosen to incarnate in canine form to teach humanity the one lesson it struggled most to learn: unconditional love. He saw them as conscious bridges between the physical and spiritual worlds, beings uniquely positioned to perceive and interact with energies and realities that humans, in their dense physicality, could not. He called them natural spiritual antennas, their nervous systems and energetic fields perfectly designed to attune to the subtle frequencies of the earth and the cosmos. Most crucially, Cayce prophesied that the true purpose and abilities of dogs would become manifest during a specific period in Earth's history. This awakening, he said, would coincide with the planet entering a new vibration, a time of profound energetic shifting. This era would be marked by humanity facing major global challenges. He spoke of widespread disease akin to pandemics, dramatic changes in the Earth's climate, and accelerated technological transformations that would both connect and disorient the human race. In this prophesied time of turmoil and transition, Cayce saw dogs stepping into a new role. Their latent spiritual abilities would awaken on a global scale. They would evolve alongside us, not just as pets, but as essential partners in our own spiritual development. Their mission, as he saw it, was to help stabilize the human emotional field, to protect us from unseen negative forces, and to ground us in the frequency of love as the world itself underwent a great and chaotic metamorphosis. For over half a century, these readings were considered a curious, almost whimsical footnote in Cayce's vast legacy. But as we entered the 21st century, the very global challenges he described began to materialize. And with them came the first, undeniable signs that his forgotten prophecy was coming true. The great canine awakening didn't begin with a thunderclap, but with a million subtle shifts in perception, a global blossoming of intuition so profound it began to defy all conventional explanation. These were the first signs, the initial oft unquiet manifestations of the abilities Edgar Cayce had foretold. It started with a heightened sensitivity to the world itself. We've always known dogs could sense a coming thunderstorm, their ears perking up long before we hear the distant rumble. But this was different. Reports began to surface from all corners of the world of dogs exhibiting extreme anxiety, demanding to be let out or refusing to enter certain areas days before a major natural disaster. In a coastal town in Japan, a family Shiba Inu, normally placid and quiet, began a frantic, non-stop digging at the base of the hill behind their home to full days before a landslide, triggered by an earthquake hundreds of miles away, would obliterate that very spot. He wasn't just sensing a change in barometric pressure. He was responding to a future event with a desperate, life-saving prescience. This wasn't instinct. It was premonition. This heightened awareness extended from the earth to the hearts of their human companions. The emotional resonance between dog and owner deepened into something verging on telepathic. Consider the story of Bobby, a golden retriever in Chicago. His owner, a high-stress corporate lawyer, noticed a peculiar pattern. On days when she was facing a particularly grueling court battle or a soul-crushing day at the office, Bobby, who was usually waiting by the door for his evening walk, would instead lie down directly in front of it, blocking her path. He wouldn't budge. It wasn't a request for a treat or a game. It was a deliberate, silent command. Stop. Breathe. You are not okay, and you are not leaving until you are. He was responding not to her outward demeanor. She was an expert at masking her stress, but to the storm raging within her, the turmoil in her emotional and energetic field. He was becoming her furry, four-legged therapist, her guardian of well-being. This conscious companionship, this uncanny ability to perceive and respond to our inner state, became a global phenomenon. Perhaps one of the most staggering, unmedically significant shifts was the emergence of pre-diagnostic detection. Dogs have an incredible sense of smell, we know this. They can be trained to sniff out contraband, explosives, and even certain chemical changes in the body. But stories began to emerge that went far beyond training. These were spontaneous diagnoses. A woman in Australia reported that her Labrador, Luna, suddenly became obsessed with a small mole on her gaff. Luna would sniff it, whine and gently paw at it, ignoring all other parts of her owner's body. The mole had been there for years, unchanged. Annoyed but eventually concerned by the dog's persistence, the woman saw a doctor. The biopsy came back positive for malignant melanoma, caught at the earliest, most treatable stage. The doctor was stunned, admitting the mole showed no visual cues that would have typically warranted a biopsy so soon. Luna hadn't been trained. She had detected the subtle scent of cancerous cells, the energetic signature of disease, and understood it as a threat. Similar stories flooded in dogs, alerting diabetic owners to dangerous blood sugar lows before their monitors could. Dogs nudging epileptics into safe positions moments before a seizure, and even dogs refusing to leave the side of individuals who were, unbeknownst to anyone, in the grips of a deep, life-threatening depression. This new depth of connection became profoundly evident in the most heartbreaking of places, animal shelters. Workers began to observe a strange and beautiful pattern. Dogs, often traumatized and shy themselves, seemed to be choosing their owners. A quiet, withdrawn beagle would suddenly walk directly to a visitor who had just lost a spouse. A hyperactive terrier mix would become inexplicably calm and gentle in the presence of a child undergoing chemotherapy. A stoic older dog would place its head on the knee of a veteran struggling with PTSD, forging an instant, silent bond. It was as if these dogs, guided by an innate understanding of human suffering, were actively seeking out the hearts that needed healing the most. It's no coincidence that the demand and certification for therapy dogs exploded during this period. But what became clear was that for many of these animals, the training simply gave an aim and a structure to an ability that was already fully formed, an innate drive to mend the human spirit, one gentle nudge and unconditional gaze at a time. The subtle shifts were becoming impossible to ignore. A new conversation was beginning, one that would soon transcend barks and wagging tails entirely. If the subtle shifts in intuition and empathy were the opening chords of this global symphony, the unlocking of telepathy was its soaring, undeniable melody. The communication washed just about feeling what their owners felt. It was about knowing what they were thinking. This was the profound leap, the move from emotional resonance to direct, mind-to-mind connection, a phenomenon that pushed the boundaries of our understanding of consciousness itself. For many dog owners, it began with small, easily dismissed moments. You're working in your home office, and the thought I should really take Max for a walk soon casually drifts through your mind. Instantly from the other room, you hear the jingle of his collar as he jumps up and runs to the door, tail wagging with anticipation. You hadn't moved a muscle. You hadn't uttered a word. You hadn't even looked at the leash. He responded not to a cue, but to an intention, a picture you formed in your mind. At first, you call it a coincidence. But then it happens again, and again with increasing specificity. You think about giving him his favorite squeaky toy, and he immediately runs to the toy box. You mentally picture the route for your drive to the vet, and he suddenly hides under the bed. It becomes clear this is not guesswork. It's reception. This phenomenon, long relegated to the realm of anecdotal fantasy, found a powerful scientific champion in Drive. Rupert Sheldrake, a biologist and author from Cambridge University. Sheldrake conducted extensive, rigorous studies on animal telepathy, documenting hundreds of cases under controlled conditions. His most famous subject was a small fox terrier named JT. JT's owner, Pam Smart worked in London and would return home at unpredictable times using various modes of transport, sometimes a train, sometimes a taxi, sometimes a ride with a friend. Sheldrake set up a video camera in her apartment, focused on the window where JT would wait for her return. The results were astounding. Time and time again, the videotapes showed JT going to the window to wait within minutes of the exact moment Pam made the decision to head home, regardless of her location, her mode of transport, or the time of day. He wasn't responding to the sound of her specific car or the time on the clock. He was responding to her intention, her thought, "I'm coming home now," from miles away. Sheldrake has experiments with JT and many other animals provided compelling evidence for what he termed morphic fields, an on-local collective memory bank that connects all living things. Dogs, he proposed, are simply more naturally and openly attuned to this field than humans. The power of this telepathic bond seems to defy not just walls, but entire continents. During the height of conflicts in the Middle East, military families began sharing astonishing accounts. A U.S. Marine Corporal James Mitchell spoke of his unbreakable bond with his dog back home in Texas, a pit bull mix named Princess. On 3 separate occasions, Princess, who was normally calm and docile, erupted into a state of extreme, inconceivable agitation. She would whine, pace frantically, and refuse to eat or sleep for hours. His wife, alarmed, would note the date and time. Weeks later, when James was able to communicate, they would match the logs. Each of Princess's episodes corresponded precisely to the moments he was engaged in the most intense firefights of his deployment, moments when his life was in immediate mortal danger. Thousands of miles away, through an invisible, instantaneous connection, Princess was experiencing the terror and adrenaline of her owner's battle. She was a living, breathing early warning system, a transcontinental emotional seismograph. Emerging neurological research has begun to offer tantalizing clues as to how this might be possible. Neuroscientists at Duke University, using fMRI machines to scan the brains of both dogs and their owners simultaneously, discovered remarkable patterns of brain synchronization. When an owner felt a certain emotion, specific regions in the dog's brain would light up in a corresponding pattern, suggesting a shared neural reality that transcends the normal senses. This isn't just mimicry. It's a form of in-species neural entrainment. The communication can even cross the boundary of consciousness itself. People began to report shared dreamscapes, waking with a vivid memory of a dream in which their dog appeared, conveying a clear message or a feeling of warning, only to find the dog acting in a way that confirmed the dream's content. The one-way street of human command and canine obedience was dissolving. In its place, a two-way superhighway of silent, profound communication was being paved, built from the very fabric of thought and intention. The disguised masters were beginning to speak, and they didn't need a voice to be heard. As the channels of communication opened, the purpose of this awakening became clearer. Dogs were not just becoming more intuitive and telepathic for the sake of connection alone. They were actively using these abilities to step into powerful new roles as energetic catalysts, healers and spiritual protectors. Their mission, it seemed, was to actively engage with the unseen world on our behalf, transmuting negative energy and guarding us from threats that our 5 senses could never detect. This ability manifested most profoundly in their role as energetic purifiers. Imagine your home as not just a physical structure, but a container of energy. Every argument, every moment of stress, Every sad memory leaves an invisible residue. Dogs, with their heightened sensitivity, began to consciously cleanse these spaces. A family who moved into an old house in Vermont described the strange nightly ritual of their German Shepherd, Max. The house had an unsettling, heavy feeling, particularly in one of the upstairs bedrooms. Every night, without fail, Max would go into that room, lie in the center, and let out a series of low, deep sighs. He wouldn't sleep, but would remain in a state of quiet, intense focus for nearly an hour before trotting downstairs, seemingly satisfied. After several weeks of this ritual, the family noticed the oppressive atmosphere in the room had lifted completely, replaced by a sense of peace and calm. Max was acting as a four-legged shaman, sensing the stagnant, negative energy and consciously processing and neutralizing it through his own body. This energy alchemy extends directly to people. Reiki masters and other energy healers who worked with animals started to report an incredible phenomenon. Esther, a Reiki practitioner in Arizona, would often allow her quiet whippet, Isis, to lie in the room during client sessions. She noticed that when a client was releasing deep-seated trauma, Isis would begin to physically tremble, her body vibrating as if processing a powerful current. The moment the client experienced a breakthrough and a sense of release, Isis would stop trembling, let out a deep breath, and fall into a peaceful sleep. She was acting as a spiritual conduit, drawing the painful, toxic energy from the client and grounding it, allowing the healing to occur on a much deeper level. More than just absorbing negative energy, some dogs demonstrated the ability to actively transmit positive, healing energy. A young man named Amando, suffering from chronic anxiety and panic attacks, found that the only thing that could stop an attack in its tracks was the touch of his rescued dog, a large mutt named Paco. When Amando felt the familiar wave of panic rising, Paco would approach him, place a single, heavy paw on his chest, and hold it there. Amando described the sensation as a wave of pure tranquility, a palpable warmth that seemed to flow from the paw directly into his heart center, calming his racing pulse and chaotic thoughts almost instantly. This wasn't just the comfort of a pet. It was a direct, targeted transmission of healing energy, an act of conscious energetic intervention. This guardianship also took on a precognitive, life-saving dimension that defied all logic. We expect a guard dog to bark at an intruder, a physical threat they can see or hear. But what about threats that have not yet manifested? A young couple in France awoke one night to the frantic barking and scratching of Bae, their otherwise silent mutt. She was outside their newborn's nursery, clawing at the door. Rushing in, they found their baby had stopped breathing, a victim of silent infant apnoea. Bae's desperate warning allowed them to resuscitate the child in time. There was no sound, no smell, no physical sign of distress that Bae could have detected. She sensed the life force fading, the imminent departure of a soul, and reacted with a precision that saved a life. This was spiritual protection. In another astonishing case, a construction foreman named Dave would bring his German Shepherd, Thor, to the job site every day. One afternoon, Thor, who usually dozed peacefully in the site office, suddenly bolted out, barking furiously and pulling at Dave's pant leg, trying to drag him away from the base of a multi-story building frame under construction. Annoyed, Dave tried to calm him, but Thor's panic was so intense that Dave and several other workers followed the dog to the far side of the site. Mere moments later, with a sickening groan of twisting metal, a critical support beam failed, and the entire section of the structure where they had been standing collapsed into a heap of rubble. No one had seen any sign of weakness. There were no warning cracks, no sounds, no indications of failure. Thor's actions were not based on observation, but on precognition. He knew what was about to happen before any physical evidence appeared. He was not just a dog. He was a guardian who perceived the weaknesses in the fabric of future probabilities and acted to rewrite them. They are healers of the heart and home, and protectors of body and soul, operating on a level of reality we are only just beginning to comprehend. These incredible, emerging abilities, the premonitions, the telepathy, the healing, the protection, are not happening in a vacuum. They are pieces of a much larger cosmic puzzle. To understand why this is happening to our dogs, and why it is happening now, we must zoom out from individual anecdotes and look at the planetary and energetic context. We must return to Edgar Cayce's prophecy. Cayce's central claim was that this awakening would be triggered when the Earth itself began to enter a new vibration, an evolutionary leap for the planet's own consciousness. Scientists may not use the word vibration, but they have certainly measured profound changes. Since the late 20th century, the Schumann resonance, the measurable electromagnetic frequency of the planet, often called Earth's heartbeat, has been observed to be behaving erratically, with more frequent and powerful spikes. It is as if the entire planet is raising its energetic keynote. And dogs, whom Cayce called natural spiritual antennas, are the first to resonate with this new frequency, like a finely tuned instrument responding to a new cosmic chord. The timing of this mass awakening is too precise to be coincidental. While stories of special dogs have always existed, the sheer volume and documentation of these advanced abilities began a dramatic, exponential increase in the early 21st century. Researchers and animal communicators pinpoint to major global events as cosmic activators. The first was the collective trauma of September 11th, 2001. The second, and arguably more powerful, was the global pandemic that began in 2020. Cayce's prophecy specifically mentioned a time of widespread disease and major global challenges as the backdrop for this canine evolution. Pioneering organizations like the HeartMath Institute have conducted research showing that such major, traumatic global events generate powerful, measurable waves in the Earth's magnetic field. The collective fear, grief, and anxiety of billions of people create a potent, energetic signature that blankets the globe. Humans, with our busy minds and emotional armor, may only feel this as a general sense of unease. But dogs, with their open, sensitive systems, receive it like a clarion call. These global crises acted as a trigger, a planetary-scale activation signal for their dormant support mission. It was time for them to get to work. The how may lie in the convergence of quantum physics and ancient mysticism. Dr. Vaith. Rupert Sheldrake's theory of the morphogen-Takabing field posits an local information network of shared consciousness that connects all living beings. Dogs, it seems, have a more conscious and fluid access to this field. They can tap into the collective human consciousness, feeling our global traumas, and also access information about future events that already exist as strong probabilities within this field. And here, another of Cayce's visions snaps into focus. His prediction of talking machines connecting all humans, our internet, is more than just a technological marvel. The explosion of digital communication, Wi-Fi signals, and cellular networks has created a dense, planet-spanning electromagnetic field that didn't exist a few decades ago. While some fear its effects on human health, it's possible this new digital layer is acting as an unforeseen amplifier for the dog's natural psychic sensitivity. It may be inadvertently creating the very energetic highway they need to perform their long-distance telepathy and sensing. What we are witnessing is a phenomenon that could be called accelerated symbiotic evolution, as humanity faces unprecedented challenges. Climate instability, social division, mental health crises, the very things Cayce foresaw. Our oldest companions are rapidly evolving a new suite of traits that are perfectly tailored to help us survive. They are developing advanced intuition for early problem detection, telepathic abilities for deeper connection and support, and energetic healing capabilities to soothe our stressed nervous systems. This is not a passive process. The core of Cayce's prophecy suggests it is a conscious choice, a pact made on a soul level. The dogs have chosen to incarnate at this specific, critical juncture in human history to assume these roles as our guides, our healers and our protectors through this turbulent era of transition. They are not just evolving alongside us. They are evolving for us. The evidence is overwhelming, the stories are undeniable, and the prophecy is unfolding in real time. The question is no longer if this is happening, but what we do now that it is. This grand transformation calls for a profound shift in our own perception and responsibility. The most crucial step is recognition. We must stop dismissing these profound abilities as coincidence or instinct. A recent survey among animal behaviorists suggested that a significant majority of domestic dogs now exhibit at least one of these special abilities on a regular basis. They are not just pets. They are conscious collaborators in a planetary evolution. Our role is to become worthy partners. This doesn't require us to become psychics or energy healers ourselves, but simply to become more aware, more present. You can begin to nurture this connection through a simple daily protocol. Set aside a few moments each day for silent presence with your dog. Put away your phone, turn off the television, and simply be with them. Look into their eyes, not as an owner to a pet, but as one soul to another. Observe them closely. When you have a strong thought or emotion, watch for their subtle physical response, the flick of an ear, a sudden stillness, a shift in their gaze. Before you leave the house, or before you go to sleep, try mentally sending them a clear message of love and gratitude. You will be astonished at how the simple act of conscious connection deepens your bond and amplifies their ability to communicate with you. For those who do not currently have a dog but feel a calling to this partnership, know this spiritually aligned animals often choose their human families through the most incredible synchronicities. You may find a stray appearing on your doorstep on the exact day you were feeling your lowest, or feel an inexplicable pull towards a particular dog in a shelter who, it turns out, is the perfect energetic match for your needs. The key is to lead with your heart and trust the process. This emerging reality is already shaping our world in tangible ways. A new landscape of professions is rising to meet this new consciousness. Certified animal communicators, who once occupied a fringe niche, are now in high demand, helping owners understand their pets' needs on a soul level. Telepathic skill trainers are teaching people how to refine and trust their own intuitive reception. Technologists are even developing apps designed to help synchronize human and canine brainwaves through specific frequencies, fostering a deeper state of connection. Edgar Cayce's forgotten prophecy was never meant to be a fantastical tale for a distant future. It was a preparation manual for a reality that has already arrived. The great canine awakening is here. The next time you look at your loyal companion sleeping at your feet, the challenge is to see them for who they truly are. Not just a pet, not just a friend, but a conscious bridge between dimensions, an energetic healer holding space for your heart, and a spiritual guardian silently watching over your soul. Thank you for joining us on this powerful journey. If this message inspired you to take control and unlock your true potential, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a chance to grow. Share this video with friends who need this reminder. Together, we rise. Remember, your greatest power lies within you, and your breakthrough starts today.